guys, Ranger here, and welcome back to another video and a very special video. And yes, I'm wearing a Christmas shirt. This is an interview to the all-new Christmas special of MLP, which is, uh, from what I read, it's supposed to be like season 9, episode 0. So this is the best gift ever, and this is a complete special. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin because I know some people want me to check this out, and I want to get this done because it's December 15th right now, so let's begin. And honestly, there's a realistic scenario with with many of the different aspects in this episode. There are a lot of realistic scenarios that you can look at here. First off, there is the concept that so many of the characters are used to spending the holidays in their own way. They're used to spending it in their own unique fashion. And let me check one thing real quick here while I'm thinking. Alright, I had to confirm. Okay, Tabitha St. Germain does in fact voice Derpy or Muffins in this. And from what I read on the wiki, she did voice her in Sauce of Life. Her voice kind of sounded a little bit different this time around, so I guess she maybe just changed her voice a little bit. But there were realistic scenarios with the different characters here with the things that had been going on. Twilight was concerned. She was over worrying herself about buying gifts for her friends and for everyone. She was completely concerned about buying gifts for everyone. And Applejack decided to do the whole. And Applejack decided, let's go with a more simplified version, which is simply draw a name and buy for that person. And this is realistic because, I remember back years ago, whenever I was really little, I remember my mom, a cousin, and my grandmother would go, and I would go with them. They would go Christmas shopping. I would go just because I love Christmas and I love seeing the decorations, and because toys, going to the toy section. But I love the holidays. I love Christmas. And so I remember they would go and they would buy for so many people in the family. And I remember my cousin at the time had a 97 Ford Explorer, and it was packed in the back of it. By the time the night was over with, it was packed in the back with gifts for so many different people. And my mom and this cousin would spend hours wrapping gifts and for different people, and they would pack them up in the vehicle and they would deliver them to different people. And finally, it got to a point where they just decided enough stress was enough, and they decided we're not going to get gifts. A card is fine, but no gifts. And that's pretty much what was decided, and that's pretty much just what was done. And so, Twilight, she's like one of those people here that is concerned about trying to buy, stressing out, trying to buy a perfect gift for every different person. And imagining being in that scenario, yeah, you can imagine being in that scenario, having to buy for multiple people, the stress of trying to buy for multiple people. And I know some people have done it and they've quit. There are some people who still do it. I'm not saying it's wrong. Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy it, that's fine. But for some people, it's extremely stressful. And Twilight was experiencing that stress here. Applejack suggested that method of just put names in a hat, buy for that person. Many people have done it. And Twilight decided to do it. And every single one of the characters then had to try to focus. And some of the characters were more concerned about buying gifts for others. Pinky, of course, she had Twilight, and so she wanted to try to find Twilight a really great gift. And even buying for just one person, sometimes it can be stressful, because even if you know that person real well, trying to find them a gift that you know that they will like can be complicated. And like, I myself am kind of like that. My mom has said that I am difficult to buy for. Like, if someone were to ask me, what kind of gift would you like for your truck? Truck, vehicle related, my response would be, the only thing that you could get me that I would really want is too expensive for you to buy, so don't even try it. There's nothing else that you could get from my truck that like I would really use that isn't really expensive. So don't even bother. Don't even get me anything related to that. Um, so yeah, it can sometimes be complicated. But there were some other interesting gimmicks here with how the story was playing out with the different scenarios with the characters. This was a part I honestly was afraid that this was going to be a Spike centered episode with what was going on, but there was multiple characters that this episode was focusing on, and it was focusing on different interlocking stories with the different characters. And I like that it had that, and they didn't dedicate an entire 44 minutes to like a Spike based episode and him trying to find Rarity something, because I thought he'll mess it up. He'll mess it up. If it's anything like the Equestria Games or like Princess Spike, he'll mess it up. But it's very funny because in this, everybody knew that. I mean, everybody knows that Spike likes Rarity. It's no secret. Everybody knows. And the interesting thing is every single one of the characters here wanted to try to get another one something special. And Rainbow wanted to try to get Fluttershy something, but Fluttershy is like kind of a little bit difficult to get for because she likes a lot of different things, and Rainbow wanted to get her something special, so it's like, what can I get her that she will really like? That isn't boring, that isn't dull, that isn't mundane. And I mean, what Discord said later on about, as her friend, you should know. In a way, that's correct, but it's also not so much correct because there are some times whenever you can still, know someone really well. That doesn't, that still kind of makes it complicated to try to buy for them because you know what they really like, you know what they have, and then you're like, what can I get them that they don't have? And so it is complicated. What can I get them? Because even if they like a specific thing, for example, I love My Little Pony, yes, but if someone were to gift me one of those really cheaply made, very atrocious looking plastic figurines, the really terrible looking ones, no. Mm-mm. No, no. But you see, that's what I'm talking about. And so it can be difficult to buy for someone sometimes. But there was, like I said, there was other interesting gimmicks that was working out with this particular episode. There was an interlocking story with Flim and Flam having shown up, and Flim and Flam it was interesting to see them in this episode. I wasn't expecting that, but Flim and Flam, and someone else pointed that out to me, that Flim and Flam haven't really done anything wrong. Basically, they are all about commercialism. They are all about commercialism. They took advantage of other people, of other people's gullibleness, and tried to make a very crappy looking toy, and said it was the season's hottest gift, and tried to pawn it off on so many others. And the crappy gimmick was that they swindled even poor Fluttershy, even poor innocent little Fluttershy, out of all of her bits. This screenshot will kill millions of people whenever I show this. This will kill dozens of people. If I never see any comments after this scene, I'll know you're all dead. I just caused massive heart attacks and multiple people. I just like 20 counts of murder. But like they even swindled poor Fluttershy, and they made a very crappy toy and had Fluttershy spend all of her money on this. And honestly, this is a very a thing that comes to mind, and I'm not joking with this. One of my bosses. This isn't a scenario that I've discussed yet, but it did in fact happen back a couple of months ago. One of my bosses looked at me and they said that they basically said if you polish a turd and make it look good, people will still buy it. And it's interesting whenever I can look at Flim and Flam here and I can see a part of one of my bosses of that boss in that, and it's annoying, it's frustrating whenever you see people like that are trying to take advantage of people's hard-earned money and sell something extremely crappy, and it's not worth the money. There's no quality control. Essentially, that's kind of why I made the. There are two things right now. I could look at Flim and Flam and say this is like Bethesda right now. Flim and Flam are like Bethesda. No quality control, pushing out a product that is just half created, and then no refunds. That's like Bethesda right now. But they were trying to take advantage of so many, and they made a crappy looking toy and tried to pawn it off on so many others and call it this season's hottest gift, and it was just nothing but junk. And it kind of made me think about, and I know some people like them, but I never understood the hype about it. The Hatchimals about a year or two ago, and then the whole fidget spinners thing. I mean, I really didn't understand the hype about it personally. I mean, some people may like it and it's cool. I just never understood the hype about it. But at least those actually had some quality control. This thing was literally a stitched together piece of cloth that had buttons for eyes. It looked terrible. And they tried to pawn this off on other people and take advantage of them, and they tried to charge, a high price for a piece of junk. They're used car dealers. Like, these people, these are kind of like the shady car salesman that you go to who charges a very high price for a piece of junk on the lot that you open the hood, there's no engine, and they'll tell you, oh, it runs. If you do it Flintstone style, you put a hole in the floor and run with it. It'll run, provided you provide you provide the foot power to it. And so, yeah, I did not like that. But I'm glad that they got their comeuppance in it. And there, of course, there was the axe. Pinky visited the axe to try to get a gift. And okay, now one other thing that I'm kind of going over this little by little. We see Derpy. We see cute little Derpy. Just look at his face. This adorable little face. This is the face of adorableness. Cute little Derpy, and Derpy is just, she's just Derpy, and she's the mail delivery pony, and she accidentally delivered the package to the wrong place. And, honestly, and like I said, I'm not going to look into it, but personally, thinking back to how Derpy spoke in Slice of Life and how she speaks here, I checked. Tabitha St. Germain did voice Derpy in Slice of Life and in Best Gift Ever. She did voice her both times, and also in the last roundup. She voiced her in all three roles. Derpy in Slice of Life, and Best Gift Ever, she did sound different. She did sound a little different. Derpy sounded, her voice, she sounded a bit more kind of focused, I guess I'll say, in Slice of Life. And here she seemed a bit more ditzy in terms of her personality. I'm not against it. I mean, I still think that it's cute for Derpy, and I'm not. I mean, if I were to kind of pick a personality for her, I can say I do still prefer the way she was in Slice of Life. I'm not saying I hate this version of her, this kind of really ditzy, this kind of a ditzy one of her. I'm not saying I hate it whatsoever. I don't. This is still adorable for Derpy. And honestly, I cannot personally fault Derpy here because she delivered the package to the wrong person. I mean, honestly, we've had that happen before with some packages. Had a package delivered to the wrong person. But in this case, Derpy made a good mistake. Because if the package had been delivered to Applejack, it never would have got to the other boy, and it would not have made him so happy. So Derpy was literally a blessing in disguise here. I mean, it was a happy accident. It was a blessing for him that Derpy did this. And, honestly, I could look at it, and this is an interesting headcanon, is that Derpy is like a Christmas angel. Just roll with me here, okay? Like Derpy, like this is Derpy. This is her. She's kind of she's like a little Christmas angel that has been on Earth or Equestria, and like she's a male pony, yes, but in this case, she knew about the other boy, and she knew how much happier that it would make him, so she delivered it to him. She's still ditzy, but like it's just a little thing that I have in mind. Like Derpy is like she is a Christmas angel in disguise. It's a cute little concept and one that I'm totally going to roll with in my head because it's just a cute little thing. I mean, she's a Pegasus anyway, but I also saw this face with Derpy laughing right here, and I wondered about that. Now I know where it came from. And I have to question this. I have to question this. It's an interesting thing, but I remember there was the concept that, and it's very interesting. But I can't help but think back to Fallout Equestria and the fanfic Derpy Deliveries, I believe it was. I can't help but think back to that and Derpy's side story and how she was like a mail delivery pony, and now Derpy is exactly that. She has been made that in the show, and I can't help but think like what these people think like whenever like maybe KCat, the author, or and like the author of Derpy deliveries, if like right now if they were to watch this or if they know about Derpy a lot right now, how it feels to know that their fanfic was later made like a segment or one of the key factors of one of their fanfics was actually made canon later on in the show. That's an interesting concept. And I wondered about this face because I've been seeing this face all as well on Facebook. Now I know where it came from. Honestly, this is a face I make too whenever I see chocolate. And the gimmick right here with Applejack, Applejack visits this simple little family here on the farm, the Acorn Acres. And I mean, this is a simple, very simplistic little home. And I mean, this is an interesting culture clash here because these two people, which are like very simple farmers, and they're not the extremely wealthy people. It's very simplistic. They have a very basic living style, very basic salary, and I mean, it's a very simplistic home, and it's nothing fancy, nothing special. And then suddenly Rarity finds out that her gift made it to this boy, their son, and who has an interest in fashion as well, and how happy that it makes him. And it's at this point that Rarity realizes, and he also knows of Rarity. He knows of her designs, and it's an interesting culture clash because here's Rarity in this very elegant winter attire, and then here's this very simplistic, very rustic country family. It's very, very different whenever you see these two cultures come together. But it's a very interesting concept and dynamic here. And it was here Rarity, she saw what was going on and realized her package made it to the wrong person. But she saw how happy that it was making this boy. And she also saw his potential, his interest in fashion, and saw how much potential that he had as a future designer, and maybe even as a future intern at her Manhattan branch, possibly too. It was very, very interesting to actually see that. And I didn't really enjoy the concept of Shining and Cadence coming by as well. One thing I will point out that was, now there were two things that personally for me was missing from this episode that would have been interesting to have seen. Number one was Starlight being featured because she was featured in the other Christmas special, but she wasn't featured here. And it was also, but I can kind of overlook that because she was seen later on. But the one thing that I have to, pardon me, the one thing that I have to say felt very missing from this episode was Twilight and Shining's parents. Like the mom and dad was not featured here. They were not present in this episode. They were not. They didn't show up for Christmas for Heartswarming. That right there felt a little strange to not have the family, to not have the parents there. That kind of felt a little strange. Um, so that right there did feel missing. I understand that the episode already had a lot of stuff going on in it with different characters, and I mean they even put Discord in this episode. So I understand that there were a lot of other things going on in this episode, and honestly, I don't know if the concept of the parents was even thought of whenever the overall writing for the episode was done. If they never even crossed the writer's mind, or if perhaps they kind of might have actually intended originally to work the characters in, but adding them into it just kind of felt a bit cluttered. And I mean, Pinky's parents never spoke a word in this episode, nor did their parents never spoke a word in this episode. They were present, but they never spoke. So it kind of, but like I said, seeing Pinky's parents in this, it kind of makes it feel a little funny to not have Twilight's parents featured here. So they're there. Oh, and there was also the concept that we didn't see Fluttershy's parents either, or Rainbow's parents. I just now thought of that. We didn't see them either. We didn't see them either. And it was also kind of interesting because, this was supposed to be like a family gathering, but, I mean, but we saw the CMCs in the episode, but we didn't see them with Rarity. We didn't see Sweetie Belle with Rarity, really. We didn't see Scootaloo with Rainbow Dash, and we didn't see Apple Bloom with Applejack. So that was kind of interesting. Now, one thing you could say, honestly, one thing that you could say about this is that all of this is set on Christmas Eve, on Heartswarming Eve. It's not Christmas Day or Heartswarming Day, so, like the rest of they will be with their families. Later on, this is just about the friends gathering together. And so, you could say that off screen, the parents showed up the next day for Christmas or for Heartswarming, and so they were hanging out together, the family and such. So you could say that. So imagining that, you can overlook it. It's just kind of interesting to not see some of the parents focused on whenever some parents were present. And I did love the scenery that was featured, and honestly, whenever Pinky arrived in this location, that showed this lovely little winter scene. I love this outlook. The first thing that came to mind was, this is the North Pole, this is Santa Hose. Second thing that kind of just now came to mind was the Christmas Village in Christmas Town in Nightmare Before Christmas. That's also kind of what that made me think of. And I also did like all three of these characters here, all three of these reindeer, Aurora, Bori, and Alice. Aurora Borealis, I like that. I like the take on the Northern Lights. And honestly, the last one is the one on the right here, I think her name was Alice. She's my favorite. She's honestly my favorite. She's honestly my favorite of the three. But again, this does kind of bring up a bit of a concern, because the one on the left she knows everything about the past. The one in the middle, she kind of knows about what these two know. And the one on the right, she knows the future. It kind of concerns me a little bit, because I'm wondering, how far into the future can she see? If there's some kind of oncoming threat that is looming over Equestria, maybe she should inform the main six about this. But again, I do really like her design, and I really love her voice and her personality. It really suits her. And interesting concept here, Flim and Flam pointed out that they did nothing wrong. And there was a scene here with Flim and Flam pointed out that legally they're doing nothing wrong. They're not doing anything illegal, and that's one of the Flim and Flam are the worst kind of business folk. They're the worst kind of people that are running the borders between legal and illegal. These are the worst kind of offenders on that because, and I know, realistically speaking, law enforcement has dealt with these kinds of guys in real life quite a bit, and I know lawyers have dealt with these guys before. These kind of guys are a real problem in real life because they know the legal system. They know the legal system and they know what is on the boundary of legal and illegal, and they know how to play, they know how to walk the line between, and they know how to wrong others but yet still stay in the green for themselves legal wise so they don't find themselves in jail. And I can't stand those kind of people. And the Flim and Flam are exactly that. It's freaking annoying to see people like this who try to take advantage of other people financially, and like they're totally in the green. There's nothing you can do about this. And at first I was saying there's got to be something illegal about what these guys are doing, but I don't see anything illegal about their operation. I mean, I really don't see anything illegal about their operation. The only thing that I can kind of compare this a bit to right now is what Flim and Flam have done here is about kind of what Bethesda did. Bethesda promised a specific style of the messenger bag. Or canvas bag that you were supposed to get with the power armor edition of Fallout 76, but other people received something different, and so they contacted Bethesda about it. Bethesda claimed that they ran out of the material, which seems like bullcrap considering they should have known how many special editions were made in total. But here, Flim and Flam advertised a supposed doll that was supposed to be the year's hottest gift, but there was no quality control. And honestly, Flim and Flam, there is a couple of little things, little hooks that you could analyze with it and say that they are kind of in the wrong on. First off, the buttons popping off and everything like that, these are technically choking hazards. So if a child were to choke on this, a parent possibly could sue Flim and Flam for lack of quality control and for not testing the product to ensure that it was child safe. So they could face some legal action on that one. Not any jail time, but possibly face some sort of lawsuit, theoretically. And the problem is here, Flim and Flam aren't, unlike Bethesda, Flim and Flam are showing this is the final product right from the get-go. People see what they're getting, they're buying it anyway, and so yeah, that's kind of one of the issues here. But honestly, this particular scene here with Flim and Flam, I don't know why that this scene irked me so much, but whenever I saw it, this scene, I don't know why that irked me so much, but there was just, Flim and Flam are two characters that I cannot stand, that honestly, I hate, I loathe. I said before that out of the Disney characters, I loathe Mortimer Mouse. And I hate his freaking guts. And I can honestly say, I don't think I hate Flim and Flam exactly as Mortimer, but it is awful close. Flim and Flam, these douchebags, are interesting characters because they don't care about others. They don't only care about themselves. All they care about is making money. Actually, I just realized what's going to happen to them. These two guys are going to be, Jacob Marley. These two idiots here, this would have made an interesting concept for a Christmas Carol MLP edition. Another one. These two guys would have worked perfect for Jacob Marley. Spent their whole life concerned about money, and then they die. Boom, they're cursed to forever pull piggy banks and safe boxes and such behind them for all of eternity. That is these guys' fate, especially whenever they're dooming themselves right now. They're taking advantage of others around Christmas time. These guys are sewing themselves up the hiney hole completely. And also I have to point out that the dynamic between I'll get back to it. And this little bit right here with Fluttershy and Applejack, although you could tell it was forced between them, it was very interesting because Applejack wanted first pretend that she wanted to buy the same gift for everybody in their family. And then Fluttershy was like, but they're all different. What makes you think that everybody would want the same gift? And you know that's true. Like this was kind of an interesting smack in the face, and I don't know if that was intentional for the writer to do that with this segment, or if it was kind of wasn't really intentional. But there's a good secret little in your face kind of thing here. Oftentimes, whenever the new holiday gift thing comes out, some people do have the mentality, hey, I can get this thing is the hot gift. Like, for example, recently I saw an article on Yahoo about gifts for him for guys, and I'm thinking, well, I'm a guy, obviously, so let's just see what this supposed list of ideal gifts for guys are. I clicked on it, and there was like 10 gifts, and I'll be honest, only one of them I would have liked, and it was a puzzle. There was something like some sort of sweater, like a turtleneck. I'm not into turtlenecks. I don't wear turtlenecks. There was some sort of other gadget, Google gadget. I'm not. I mean, I like technology, but I'm not interested in. I don't have an Alexa or anything like that, and I would have no interest in owning one. I would have no need for it. I still prefer a vehicle with a CD player. I don't want a Bluetooth player in my vehicle. So, yeah, this supposed thing, it's funny whenever some people will say, this is the ideal gift for so and so, and you're thinking, you see it and you think, well, I fit into that so and so category, but that's certainly not something I would be interested in. And it was like whenever the Hatchimals thing was all the rave, um, was all a couple of years ago. I didn't understand the appeal, and then fingerlings became a big thing. Oh, and fidget spinners, and it just felt like it's interesting here because there's an interesting dynamic. Is because Applejack is kind of representing one kind of attitude that says this gift is perfect for everybody. Fluttershy represents Fluttershy's persona here is supposed to represent the more sensible side of commercialism, of buying gifts and such, or any gift really, that says, hey, think, what do they like? They might not be interested in this. This gift isn't for everyone, isn't for everybody. And you kind of got three different personalities here, and I'm just going to analyze this. On one hand, you have Flim and Flam, who are the commercial makers. They create the product and they think that it's going to be a high marketed, high dollar. They think it's going to be a big selling product. They think everybody will want it. I'm looking at you, Blizzard, and your idea of Diablo Immortal. I'm looking at you, and Bethesda with Fallout 76. I'm looking at you guys. Flim and Flam represented the commercial aspect of it, the maker who thought, put something together, everybody will want it. Applejack kind of her persona, her representation here kind of was like the demographic, the consumer that thought, this gift is good for everybody because so and so says it is. They're the kind of person that kind of buys into the hype and says this is great for everybody. Fluttershy represents the more sensible side here of a consumer that thinks, well, maybe not. Maybe this thing isn't for everybody. And honestly, you can kind of see a couple of things here. Like, I could easily slap a Bethesda logo over top of Flim or Flam. I don't know which one this is, and frankly, I don't care. One's Ballsack 1, the other one's Ballsack 2. We'll call them that. I could put a Bethesda logo over top of Ballsack 1's face right here, and I could put like one consumer over top of Applejack, like for Fallout 76, which are people that buys into the hype of it and thinks it's good. Fluttershy is kind of the more sensible side of some gamers that are like, you know what, this may be okay for some people, but it's not my thing, and it may not be everybody's thing. This also works for other items too. This doesn't just apply to video games. This applies to other things out there too. While so many other people were buying into the hype about fidget spinners, and there were so many videos spreading across YouTube like wildfire about the fidget spinners, about different things you could do with them, shooting them out of a cannon and whatnot. Um, Here I was just continuing to do my own thing, and I never bought into the hype because it wasn't my thing. And it's kind of an interesting concept here with this interesting dynamic between these two characters. And Applejack realized, you know what? She pretended to be like, you know what? I need to think about what my family want, not buy into the hype of a supposedly great gift that everyone would like. I need to find something that they would all like. And as a result of this, it's an interesting thing because here Flim and Flam suddenly found themselves out of cash. Like nobody was buying their product whenever people realized it wasn't the big thing. People weren't buying the product. And this was a really good, them chasing after other ponies was a really good representation of what Bethesda and Blizzard are trying to do right now, chasing after their consumers. Like, wait, why did we mess up? Don't you all have phones? I mean, that was what was going on here. And I honestly love this little bit with Applejack and Fluttershy here, because Applejack is kind of like the Texas Ranger here. She's like, I'm not letting these guys get away with this. And it was awesome to see that. And like I said, this little bit here with Rarity and this guy, like this kind of reminded me of the gift of the Magi. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I never did really understand if that was the proper pronunciation, so I deeply apologize for that. But that made me think of the story because Applejack wanted a gift. That's what this story came to mind. Applejack had a gift. She wanted to get a gift for someone special to her, and then however, instead of trading something of value of hers to get something for someone else, instead her package accidentally went to somebody else. But she decided to let them keep it and she went back empty-hooved, and she wasn't able to get a gift, but she still made someone else happy because she let him keep it because she saw how much it made him happy. And this was a really good representation of Rarity's gift of generosity, her element of generosity. Actually, hang on. Wait a minute. Thinking about that just hit me. That just hit me while I watched that just hit me. The whole thing that I just described with Applejack and Flim and Flam, honesty. This was a really good representation of Applejack's element of honesty because she was being honest here. She was being honest. She was telling everybody, don't buy into the hype of this new gift. Think about what those around you would be interested in and buy for them that way. Don't buy into the hype of this new product. It might not be for them. Do your own thing. Buy for them. Buy what they would want. Applejack was honest about that. And that was her element of honesty. And it was also kind of Fluttershy's element of kindness, too. Rarity was generous. She let this guy keep this hat because it fit him and because she saw his interest in fashion and she saw a future in him and possibly even a future intern. And so she let him keep it. She was being generous, her element of generosity, and let him keep the hat. And I want to see this guy return later on. I do. And I want to see him in season 9 as a future intern at Rarity's Rarity for You. I want to see that because I think it would just work perfectly for that. Now, of course, the scene does progress to show Flim and Flam being chased after some angry townsponies, so we can only assume that they did get their comeuppance. Everybody probably figured out that they'd bought pieces of junk, and I love that bit. And Applejack saying that seeing Flim and Flam get their comeuppance basically makes her feel all warm and cozy. You know what? I'm like Applejack. Anytime I see some douchebag get what's coming to them in real life, oh, it makes me so happy. I love it. And before I forget about it, I'm going to point out the planes, trains, and automobiles reference right here in the back of the train. I'm going to highlight that again. And this whole thing, of course, with Twilight trying to make the pudding for Pinkie hit, was magic-based, which was Twilight's element of magic. It involved magic, so she was trying to do that. Pinkie wanted to try to make something to get a gift that would make Twilight smile. Pinkie's element is laughter. So yeah. Rainbow's is loyalty. And I would say that this whole thing with Rainbow trying to get the gift of Fluttershy as well, this was her element of loyalty. This was her being loyal to her friend and trying to find something for her. And also have to say, I did like the dynamic here between Rainbow and Discord. It's an interesting setup. It's not often something we see very often, but it was interesting to see that dynamic between these two. And yeah, it was definitely an interesting concept. And one thing, of course, that I have to kind of point out is here you have two different. Everything just came to a head whenever the Winterzilla met with the pudding, and so here you have this big. The characters are trapped between pudding and a Winterzilla. And that was an interesting dynamic. And I kept saying throughout the whole time, just let him eat the pudding. I'm sure he'll be fine. And honestly, I love this bit whenever Twilight picks up Spike and uses him as bait. And I thought, okay, Twilight's finally decided she's fed up with Spike. Like, here you go, eat him. And Spike's face is kind of like, Twilight, what the F are you doing? Spike was more calm in this scenario than I thought he probably should have been. And I also really enjoyed this particular segment as well with Shining. He was going to do something to help, and then Cadence, the ever calm, like, dear, let me handle this. You know, the wise wife deal. She is like, who's the one that can fly? And so she takes to the sky, she blasts this thing, saves Rarity, and Shining is just so proud of his wife. Like, your mother is so awesome. I married her. And she said yes. And I also love this little bit whenever Shining was able to get up onto the balcony, and Cadence said, "You're not so bad yourself." Like I said, Shining and Cadence will not be making it on Santa's good list anytime soon. After tonight, they will be on the naughty list for the next 2 years. I don't know. I don't remember if there was any other artists that did this song, but I was thinking, I know Alabama did this song. I don't know if there was any other artists that did it, but I'm thinking of a song, "The Night Before Christmas." I'm going to play a bit of that right now.
We were making merry in ways we never thought of. Then we heard those sleigh bells and old Santa almost caught us.
With this clip. Yeah, it rolls with it. At this particular moment right here. This moment. I love this little bit whenever Fluttershy realizes, oh dear, I can talk to animals. It's my job. And she just pulls her hoodie. She just pulls her turtleneck up over her mouth. It's so cute. I love it. It's so adorable. And then she tries talking to this, I wanted to say chinchilla, this Winterzilla, but whenever he knocks her away, that's whenever crap gets real. That's whenever you have unleashed the beast. And at first, I love this segment. Fluttershy's hair is just like over top of her face. And then she pulls it to the side. This is beast mode. No, this is not. No, you did not just push her wrong button. No, there's the wrong button, and then there is the you totally effed up button, and you just hit that one. Whenever I love this bit with Fluttershy because there was a thing that I saw. It's always the quiet ones. You know, I saw something I remember reading something somebody said that like be more afraid of the person of the quiet one that sits in the back than the one who's more open and vocal in the front. Fluttershy's that. I love this bit. This bit right here is like, oh no, no, you done screwed up. Fluttershy just goes full John Wayne here. And I also love this bit whenever Fluttershy is an interesting character. It's interesting how Fluttershy can be angry but still be adorable at the same time. Whenever you put her in a turtleneck, it just doubles her cuteness. Like, she's mad, and it's still it's kind of hard to take her seriously whenever she's looking so cute. But we did get another interesting there was an interesting bit of information here whenever Applejack makes the mention about her hat. And she said that her paw made the mention, said that line whenever he gave her his hat. So that says, obviously, that definitely says that their parents were still, that Pear Butter and Bright Mac were, I mean, that obviously they were alive before, I mean, after Applejack was born, because Apple Bloom was born. But I think back to that episode, I think it was Double Rainbow, whenever it shows Applejack leaving the farm. We didn't see Apple Bloom in that episode, but like we didn't see the parents around anywhere there. And in the episode where it showed the flashback with Applejack and her talking about her lying moments, I don't remember seeing Apple Bloom in that episode either. So I'm wondering exactly when that Bright Mac gave Applejack that hat, when he gave it to her, and what was going on at that time. And I gotta say, this little bit, whenever Discord is talking, and Rainbow's just sitting there with her spoon, and she calmly takes a bite of this pudding. Like, this girl is completely ignoring him. She's completely ignoring Discord. She's tuning him out. And she's kind of she's tuning him out completely. This was freaking hilarious. I loved it. And I have to say, I mean, I'm not bashing at all this little segment with Spike singing, but I have to wonder, how can you put a guitar together out of cardboard and buttons and it actually play? I'm just curious. I'm really curious about that. And honestly, what I was expecting here to happen, I mean, I'm not against what they did, but I was honestly was thinking a bit something more kind of epic. And what I meant by that is I was thinking of Spike giving Rarity this guitar, and I think back to the episode whenever Rarity was stressed out, Pinky gave her a guitar and she like totally went full on metal or full on rock. And I was kind of expecting Rarity to do something like that here, for her to suddenly belt out some sort of rock jam. That's what I was expecting. I won't deny I was disappointed that didn't happen, because Rarity the Rocker is awesome. But this was a very cute, sweet moment with Spike performing, but it only fueled the Spike and Rarity shipping. It only fueled that. But this little moment with them all singing together at the end was really sweet. It was really cute. It was interesting to see the different segments here kind of come together with the different characters and them talking. Twilight singing about how friendship was a very special gift. And it honestly is true. Like, friendship is a very special gift, and it's really a very special Christmas gift. It's not something you can buy. It's It's something that you can seek, but it's something that you can give to anybody. And it's a very special thing, and it's very unique. It's the most rarest of things. It's more rare, like no matter what you try to seek in a store or online, it's not as rare as friendship. And it's something extremely rare, and it's the most special gift that you can give. And it's it's extremely true. But we did actually see some other ending segments here with some cute scenes with Starlight and Trixie together, which I think is also cute. With Trixie and Starlight here together, which is also cute. Which is also interesting because it seems like they're on another road trip together, which is interesting. And like I said, Starlight wasn't here, present in the episode, but you could probably say that maybe maybe Starlight. There's a couple different theories you could come up with. One is that Starlight is spending Christmas or Heartswarming with Trixie because Trixie has nobody else. You could say that since it is Heartswarming Eve, that Starlight will be joining them later on, like in the last Christmas special, she will be joining them for Heartswarming on Christmas or Heartswarming Day. But here she's kind of spending it with Trixie. You could have that conjecture with that. And of course, like I said, we see the other characters here. We see the Apple and the Pie. We see the Apple family and the Pie family together here, which is interesting because we see some different characters. Of course, we see Apple Bloom and Maud, Limestone and Marble, breaking rocks, and we also see Maud and Mudbriar spending Christmas together. And over on the side, of course, we see Sugar Belle and Big Mac spending Christmas together as well, which is very sweet. And now I know someone is going to point that out, so I'm going to go back to the very beginning of the episode and point out that segment before someone decides to point it out to me, and I have to include it in this overall. Now we did get this really adorable scene earlier in the episode at the beginning with Big Mac and Sugar Belle sharing a little nose nuzzle and a little forehead kiss, a little forehead smooch, which was adorable. And we did see this segment where Marble witnessed it, and she was distraught over it. We did see this scene, and we see this heartbroken scene with Marble here. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to deny this is hurtful to see. And like she backs away, so I'm not. Yeah, I mean this does hurt to see this. But there are a couple of different things that I could look at with this and say. Apparently, supposedly, Big Mac and Marble are really cousins. And so I know that a lot of people still ship Marble and Big Mac. I mean, I still think the pairing is cute myself, and I'm not against the shipping. I mean, I can still roll with that ship, but apparently they are related. But thinking back, I don't personally remember them having very much of an interaction whenever they were highlighted together. One theory that I could come up with here that might kind of justify what is going on here without it being extremely hurtful is that Marble is not upset with the concept of Big Mac having a special sun pony, but it's just that maybe she is upset that she doesn't have one and that she's not sharing a very special moment with Sun Pony under the mistletoe, or holly. So that's one theory that I can come up with on that. But yeah, I'm going to kind of try to look over that scene personally because it does kind of hurt, and it has been more established about Big Mac and them here. I mean, it kind of has been definitely more established with Big Mac and Sugar Belle. So I can't really say much on that. But Marble seems normal here, as normal as Limestone, and mod in this episode, so yeah. And of course, we also see this little lovely scene where Luna is looking up at the stars. I mean, where it's nighttime and she's out, she's watching the snowfall scene, and Luna turns to her and smiles, and it's just a warm little sisterly interaction there. And we also see this other character here. He gets a hat from I'm assuming his parents, and it's a very cool Acorn based hat. And there's just warm smiles and laughter all about, which is very sweet. And we do see an interesting bit with Flim and Flam and all the toys, and them going back to Las Pegasus, and then being disgruntled. Yeah, totally cool with that. They deserve it. They totally deserve it. And of course, the scene transitions. We see little Derpy again flying. And we see everybody leaving Town Hall. I'm assuming there was some sort of Christmas party possibly being held. We see Derpy. Crap. I did not mean to go back. And of course, the reindeer fly away as if it's, I mean, like your typical kind of a Christmas special here. They fly away. And it's very interesting with that. But yeah, now there were lots of other characters in this episode to point out, background characters as well, and I could probably do a separate little thing focusing on that. Also really did enjoy, Twilight was adorable in this episode. That Twily Nanas thing was also very cute. But yeah, I really did enjoy this episode. It was a very cute, very sweet episode, and I really did love it. This was a really great Christmas special for the holidays. This was a really great Christmas special. Is it my most favorite of the Christmas specials? Of the 3 Christmas specials I've had for MLP, 4 Christmas specials. It's not my most favorite of the Christmas specials. I mean, it's definitely second. It's definitely my second favorite. I would say of my favorite Christmas specials, it is right, like, here is, I think it's A Heartwarming Tale, or the Christmas special where it was like a Christmas Carol. This is that episode. As far as the Christmas specials go, the Heartwarming, the Christmas one, where it was kind of based off of a Christmas Carol, is pretty much right here. And this Christmas special here, Best Gift Ever, I would say is just slightly below it as far as Christmas specials go. There were a lot of really good elements that I really loved about this episode, but there were a few things that made it not top the other one as my personal favorite Christmas special. I did enjoy the overall message about friendship being the most important gift that you could give. I did enjoy that, and it is really true. However, like I said, there were a few things that personally for me made this episode kind of it caused this episode to fall short of being equal to the other Christmas Carol based episode or surpassing it. Number one, the parents weren't featured. Twilight's and Shining's parents weren't featured in this episode, nor was Rainbow's or Fluttershy's parents. Not even Zephyr Breeze was seen in this episode either. And it was supposed to be a friend-based Christmas special as well. And there was a lot of different things going on in this episode. I can see why it fit a 44-minute special. It did really feel there was a lot of things going on in this Christmas special personally, and but it also had discord. I'm really glad that he was featured in it too. We also got to see a bit with Thorax as well. I think the changelings. We didn't even get to see really. Now we didn't. I mean, and we got to see some of the Student Six as well in the background, but like I said, we didn't see some of the parents. We didn't see that, and they'd had to put that part in the beginning with Marble. I think I would like this episode a little bit more if they hadn't have put that part with Marble crying in the beginning. If they hadn't put that in there, because that's not something I want to see personally in a Christmas special, is somebody crying like that. So that one kind of left it short for me personally. And then like there was some good gimmicks in it, but those elements kind of made it definitely feel a little left out personally. And again, I'm not going to hold the episode completely against it um, because like I said, this is supposed to be set on Heartswarming Eve, not Heartswarming Day. So you could say the parents, all everyone was together the day after. Um, but it was a good, solid holiday special. There wasn't very many songs featured in the episode. Um, but I did really enjoy it. I did really enjoy the episode. Like I said, it is just slightly behind the A Christmas Carol special. This is just slightly behind it. So this is still one of my favorites. Like of the 4 Christmas specials, this one is definitely one of my favorites. And it's just slightly behind the Christmas Carol based episode. But again, I did enjoy the episode. There was a lot of really good stuff in it, and I hope I did a good enough analysis with the different segments which were going on, and I hope I did hope I did a good enough analysis with it. Um, but hope you guys enjoyed. And again, to everybody that worked on this episode, thank you all. DHX Hasbro, thank you everybody that worked on this episode, and thank you all so much for working on this episode. Thank you so much for giving us another Christmas special. Personally, that is one thing that I love that they're still doing Christmas specials, because that's one thing that some unfortunately with some TV shows, that is one thing that you oftentimes will see, is they'll do one holiday special very early on in a show's run, and they won't do another Christmas special later. And so no matter what happens throughout the rest of the seasons, they'll never update it. And so I don't like it. So I love that they have continued, and they've done 4 Christmas specials now, and every single one is updated with the things that have transpired throughout the past seasons. So I'm very glad that they are still doing that. So thank you all so much for continuing with that and still doing that, and still delivering some really great specials. And thank you for this one as well. And thank you to everybody that worked on it. Thank you all so much, and I hope everybody at Hasbro DHX, hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thank you all so much. We're very much looking forward to season 9. Thank you all, and also to everybody that watches as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoyed the thoughts. And so if there's anything I missed, I deeply apologize. But again, thank you guys again for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and Merry Christmas. And I guess this will be, I don't know, I hope this won't be the last MLP episode, the last MLP thing before Christmas. I don't want this to be, so hopefully not. But again, thank you guys again for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video that I do. Take care.